Awesome. Here we are.
Hello, Simon.
Welcome. So welcome everybody. Anybody tuning in today, welcome to Simon on the Sofa. This is a awesome moment because we've been meaning to come together for a long time. Welcome Bob Hillary to the Simon on the Sofa.
Thank you very much, sir. We have been trying to plan this for a while, haven't we?
Yes. We've been trying to come together, and this is the moment that has called us both here right now. So just a little intro for people maybe that are a little new to Simon on the Sofa, or even have never even heard of Bob Hillary. So just to give you a little insight, that I was introduced to Bob through an album of his called Love, and since being introduced to that album, I've listened to it however number of times and shared it with many friends. And the moment I heard it, I was like, I'd love to speak to this guy and just, share a conversation, because that's what I'm like sometimes. I find people along the path that inspire me and I want to speak to them. And I haven't been recording many conversations of late because I've sort of been going through a wave of creativity and also self-inquiry around, what is actually worth speaking about. And then I read an article of Bob's. I can't remember the name of the article. Do you remember what article I read of yours? It was about relationship, and you was doing something with your partner. I think you was doing a retreat, or you was off somewhere.
Yeah. Was it called Let the Women Lead?
Let the Women Lead, exactly.
That was oh, nice. You read that? That's wicked.
Yeah. So I read this lovely article. And then I also just, obviously from listening to your lyrics and then reading that article and seeing that you're out there as, let's say, a bit of a more, I'm going to just say a more consciously aware individual, call us a man if you want to call us a man, and what I take from you is just somebody who's really, really inquiring into yourself and into life and pondering, what it's all about, and you can tell the people listening and me if there's any different, and to add to that, and then what I got an essence of from your reading was just this sort of, what really resonated with me is where I am as a man as well, is just really surrendering this sort of male dominance and sort of male, leading, male needing to think he knows everything, males needing to think that they have it all worked out, and actually softening and surrendering to the feminine's leadership or the feminine's guide. And then within that, I've been having my own individual experience of what it means to be guided by a woman in order for me to soften and tap into the gentleness of who I am. And that's not without losing my masculinity. It's not without me losing certain aspects of what it means to be a man, whatever that means. And that's really a little bit that inspired me. So really from that place, today, Bob, just so you know, this is a free conversation. So whatever is alive in you in this moment, whatever wants to come through, it doesn't have to be associated to anything I've said, but I'm just here to show up with you and share conversation, let's say, being to being.
Yeah, man. Wicked. Yeah. Shall I talk now?
Yeah, you can talk.
I'll say something. I shall respond. Well, I'm glad you read that. I think it's a really big topic of our times. Is we're all seeing basically the kind of the mess. We're all seeing the state of the world and the mess of what's playing out, and the mess of our leaders, and how basically I don't think any of us really want our leaders to be our leaders, because none of us feel them, But I think it's all about men, where men are at, and we've been in charge for too long, and there's a lot that goes with that. But we've been living in the era of the patriarchy, and that era is very much now ending. It probably from the outside doesn't look like it's ending, because it looks like a big flipping mess. But the reason it's a big flipping mess is because it's ending. The patriarchy era is ending. And that's why I'm doing the work on myself as a man, very much actually triggered by having met a really amazing woman who's my wife now, who really doesn't accept my crap as a man. She just won't let me get away with it because she's a really full power woman. And so I'm working on my shit, you know, like all the time, every day, through the day. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It's a mad time we're living in. I don't know about what you guys watching are experiencing, but my experience is that it is just relentless. The amount of self-work and self-inquiry I'm having to do that I have no choice whatsoever. I don't have any choice. It's just grueling. It's quite full on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Beautiful.
Full on. It's
Yeah.
really.
And like, would you? Yeah. Are you happy to just share a little? Yeah, a little bit of that. You know, just a little bit of that. Some of that. What that's bringing up for you. I'm happy to share what it's bringing up for me, but I'd love to hear what it's bringing up for you.
Oh man, that's a big old question, but it's a good question. What's it bringing up? Um, for me, it's bringing up my ego as a man and my control. That's probably fundamentally the big thing, is the control.
Right.
And yeah, the controlling of the feminine and my wounding, where that comes from. And I recently did something called the Mankind Project,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
I really seriously, really highly recommend that any man out there who's watching this goes and Googles right now or after they've watched this, the Mankind Project. It is. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
It's really, really. I've done a lot of self-development work, and I continue to do so. But out of any of it, that is the one that's really, really moving things for me. It's basically male initiation.
Yeah.
So I think that their phrase is, we take the man and we make him. No, we take the boy and we make him into a man. And I don't know how the hell they do it, but they do it in a flipping weekend. It's really nutty. It's sort of shamanic, but it's not like hippies and feathers whatsoever. It's really like on it. Anyway, so that's like I am changing from being a boy into a man, and a man is someone. So we see out in the world like versions of men in, you know, what men look like, and those versions are what are portrayed on the media and in our government. They are not very pretty models, and they're not very good models, which is why no one is voting, or people are starting to vote now actually, but they haven't been. But yeah, we need to change. We need to heal as men, and we need, so that we can start to change how the world operates, because at the moment it seems like the men are still in charge. That's not going to change overnight, and I think what we need to do is do the work and step up. So at the moment I'm getting a very strong internal call to step up. I'm 40 years old and I'm a man. I'm in that part of my life, and that's what drives me. It's the urge and the calling to step up into responsibility and caretakership of the planet. And that's what a man is really being. And I'm learning that, I reckon, through the feminine. The feminine is teaching me that. My partner, my woman, is teaching me that. And women all around the place that I meet are teaching me and showing me how to be a man. And what, don't want to ramble too much, but
No, you're not
it
rambling.
is.
You're not rambling. I'm enjoying. So in terms of like when you talk about men being, you know, when you hear out there like to be stewards or to protect the earth or to, you know, make a difference, to take responsibility of our actions and the way that we're treating the earth, that obviously brings you back to the journey to yourself, right? This like this sense of like the inner transformation creates the outer transformation. You know, if there's anything to be worked on, you can only work on yourself. Even if we want to change, you know, whoever, governments, people out there, you know, Joe Blogs down the road, the only person we have any real ability to change is ourselves, right? And so that you're doing that work, or you're being called to step up. And What does that mean for you? Is it changing certain behaviors? Is it changing certain ways that you the words you use? What's it changing for you in terms of this step up, or what's been the effect so far?
To start with, the ability to be able to commit to one woman, if that doesn't sound too wanky, like to really commit. Like me and my partner have this new saying, it's commitment is sexy.
Yeah.
Like commitment is sexy. So like, I don't know. It seems to me like a lot of people are struggling to stay in relationship in this time. Or I don't know a whole load of people who are like keeping a relationship solid and together. And because we're very programmed in the world to have instant fix, instant gratification, technology. I'd love to get into technology at some point in this talk, because that's a really big interest and theme of why I'm also trying to step up my music. Yeah, we're being sort of like very heavily programmed, and we have been for obviously centuries. But like, yeah, technology is kind of making it all kind of instant gratification, you know, and porn, you know. I think I hear that there's a really massive pornography addiction issue in men, and young men especially, because of the ready access to it just at the flick of a switch on a phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's making it hard for men to deal with the realness of a woman and the realness of a relationship. And the fact is, in my opinion, is that the realness of relationship is that it's hard and you have to look at your shit. Am I allowed to swear in this?
Yeah.
Good, because sometimes you need to. We have have to start looking at our shit, people. And I know most of us are. Maybe that's not true. Maybe a lot of us really aren't.
Yeah, maybe when you start to change yourself, you start to feel that maybe other people are doing the same, but whether they are or not is questionable, right?
Well, man, I try not to focus too much on other people, because ultimately I really do think it's all about the internal.
Exactly.
Everything is apparently everything is a reflection. Everything outside of us is a reflection of what's inside of us, apparently. So.
And how do you feel about that? Like when you say apparently, like is that you really feel that? Are you feeling that? Like as you're changing now as a man and you're stepping up and you did the Mankind Project and you committed fully to this beautiful woman that's giving you some support to shift. What's the? Do you feel that as you're changing, the outer's changing?
Yeah, I do. It sort of goes in waves for me, really. Which is quite confusing. Like sometimes I'm really like, you know, one week I can be like, oh wow, you know, like humanity is fully waking up, and I mean, that song I played earlier is called Just Like Birds. The chorus is like, here we go, just like birds, flying over the hills around us. Will we stand or will we fall, looking back at the world behind us? So it's about like, that was when I was on a good tip of like, yeah, you know, we're waking up. I guess that song kind of sums up, because a lot of the time I'm like, I really don't know where we're headed. Sometimes I'm like, we're fully waking up and we're evolving and we're moving into the new paradigm. And then the next week I'm like, oh fuck, you know, things are messed up and the technology is really fucking with us, and nuclear war and you know, and I can get lost in the anxiety of just stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's some nice points you bring up there, because there's this question, isn't there? This whole idea of new paradigm, and of course we definitely seems we're evolving along, and at the same time, you know, to speak of new paradigms being something for years, right? And you know, this talk of like people waking up and so on. I mean, you know, if you go back 2,000 years ago, there were some people that were awake and some people that were not so awake. Let's say, in terms of that, just using that terminology. So the question that keeps coming up for me around is, it's funny you mentioned about committing just committing to yourself, committing to life, loving yourself, and just like really sort of making your own conscious decisions of what you want to contribute and what you want to do in the world, right? Like you said that you're going to talk about technology in a minute, but you're even like, that's moving into your music and how you express yourself through your music. Because just to say, that album that I listened to of yours was very much a, let's say, a statement. It's really much you singing your heart out around life. That's nice. Look at that. Look, the woman brings the light, and it wasn't Jesus. That's a bit better, isn't it? Thank you, beautiful Dara. So this the one thing that keeps coming up for me is the more I go into the space, the more I go into the silence, the more I go into the depth of who I am beyond the stories, beyond the noise, beyond all the ideas, the concepts, the paradoxes, the theories, and what may happen, may not happen. The world is near death. There's always an end of the world coming. There always has been, right? So for me, like the more I go into the silence, the more I go into that space, then everything else sort of drops away. And it's not that doesn't make me then feel that I want to do something that is beneficial to me and my relationship and the people and the world. It's almost like that's a natural thing that happens through that space, if that makes sense, without sounding too ambiguous.
Yeah, man. Yeah, fully. It's really nice to hear someone else say that, because my ego can get really caught up in like, oh, I'm the only one. Everybody else out there is just cluttering themselves up with stuff, and sometimes this feels like quite a lonely road, this path of awakening. I don't know if you experience that. Sometimes I'm like, man, I feel so alone in this, like, because I don't know, my experience is whatever being that I am. I think I'm a indigo. I think I was an indigo child. Now they're crystal children. This is the next evolved step up. But I don't know I think I'm indigo. So I always felt very different as a kid. And I was like, man, I don't understand the world around me and I don't accept it. Don't accept it. I got expelled from school because I didn't accept it. I said, no, I'm not doing any of that. And I got expelled. And I'm glad. Where am I going with this? It's just good to hear you say that.
Stay there. Well, stay there if you want to, because this is what you're just bringing up.
Yeah.
There's it's a vital point for other men out there as well, because let's just talk from that place of man to man, just in that context, is that, I'm not just hearing men say that, I'm hearing a lot of men and women say that they feel that there's, a lot in that falling away, that sense of loneliness comes up, that sense that I'm on my own comes up, that sense that nobody else is actually, going through this does pop up. So it's like, it's a great point that you mentioned, and I appreciate that vulnerability of sharing that, because I think a lot of people are scared to say that because they want to have it all figured out, especially men.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon I'm getting really, particularly in the last few weeks since the eclipse. There was an eclipse, big ass eclipse recently, and I've really been feeling quite a big shift of energy since then. And I've actually had some beautiful, continual moments of walking around where I live out in Somerset. I live in the countryside, just really walking around and like, oh wow, something really big is dropped away. And there's this big feeling of like space and breathing space. I haven't been feeling it today. I've been feeling totally fucking fried today. But
thank you for coming on the call today when you feel totally fried.
It's like it's really like waves at the moment. It's like, woo! I'm pretty sure. I reckon that a lot of people are feeling this. I'd like to think I'm not the only one feeling these like mad waves.
No, you're not.
But yeah, space. I'm really getting that it's vitally important that as people, whoever we are, men, women, or whatever, children, that we start creating space for ourselves, for our consciousness, and whether that is however that takes shape or whatever tools you use to create that space in your life, whether it's like meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's going for a walk in the countryside, or whether it's getting more extreme to like how you work yourself around technology. Because what I am really getting, I don't know if you agree with me here, Simon, but what I'm really getting, what my consciousness is telling me very, very, very clearly and strongly of late, even though I question it, is that all this technology and the devices and the sort of ever bombardment of like technology into our lives, I'm getting that it's kind of trying to take away our space, like our head space, our breathing space. And so what I'm getting is it's very important to not get caught in the sort of technology trap, basically, because my experience of having Wi-Fi in my house, which I just got rid of, is that it was just taking over. And me and my partner were online, you know, all the time in the evenings, not connecting, not having enough breathing space in our lives. I don't know, we were becoming very dysfunctional, actually. And this is what I see out in the world when I go on the trains and stuff. I see everyone. It's kind of like a disease, isn't it? That's what it looks like to me. It's like a disease, except no one's fucking talking about it. I'm like looking around at people on the trains and public transport. I'm like, you guys look sick. You look mentally ill on your phones, your smartphones like this. No one's talking to each other. It's like that's mental illness. Sorry, I'm actually speaking really strongly now because I feel this really strongly.
Yeah, let it out.
No one's fucking talking about it. Like I want to get a fucking loudspeaker, man. I'm not kidding. I want to get a loudspeaker, big one of those cone things, electric one, and get onto trains and go, what are you all doing? Wake up! This is not healthy. Like, please see what is happening to you.
Yeah.
I actually feel emotional because I'm an empath, and so I feel strongly what's going on in the world and in society and in people. I feel the collective, which is what fuels my music, because I feel the urge to correct imbalances in our society. And the technology really upsets me. And it really upsets me when I see kids, you know, on phones. It's like, that's not right. And yeah, it might be making them clever and whatever and logical, but actually it doesn't sit right with me. Where am I going with this? What I'm getting, my personal experience is that I'm being very careful with technology, and I've got a very cheap, old school Nokia phone. It's not a smartphone. I never had a smartphone. I don't need one. I keep it really, I have a boundary to it, you know. I'm over here and technology is over here, and it's at arm's length. I keep it at arm's length. But what the patriarchy want is they want it to be right in close in your brain, and they'll probably have a go at that. They're starting to microchip people. I feel they want the technology inside of us so that we're ultimately controllable, and I'm saying a firm no to that. And I'll do my bit as a musician and a singer to help spread the awareness of like healthy boundaries to technology and sovereignty. So
yeah, I love that.
Mankind Project has taught me about my own sovereignty, and the more I heal my past trauma and my childhood damage, the more I'm claiming my sovereignty, and that's the ability to stand up and say, no, that's my boundary. You don't get to do that to me. That you're overstepping my boundary with whatever technology, with taxation, with whatever council tax, all that stuff. For me, all that stuff is it's an invasion of people's boundaries, and a lot of us are feeling it more and more, which is why, you know, people are starting to get angry, man. You know, But they don't know.
You say
They don't.
starting to get angry. I think what you mean is that the cap of that anger is come to the top of the tower. I think people have been angry for a very long time, but haven't been able to vent it.
Yeah. The problem is people don't know what to do, and
so it just builds up. It builds up, and then they get caught up in a whole heap of other crazy ways of venting that, and it normally comes out on the people they love the most, or it gets transferred into normally addictive, distractive hobbies and substances of abuse, basically, and whatever that means. That can lead to, that can not just mean drugs, but anything else that creates abuse for themselves, because the anger is ultimately toxic inside. That's what the work we do is actually a lot about emotional release. So it's about releasing the emotions, moving the energy, the emotion in us, and then being able to use that energy, in a very more productive way, rather than it just becoming violent and toxic. But let's just stay here for a little bit, because it's nice that you bring up the sovereignty, and I think the conversation you bring up about technology is a huge one and has been for a long time, and of course not a mainstream one, because people just get pulled along like sheeple into just using technology and not understanding what it's really doing. And recently, Simon Sinek, when I say recently, he's been talking about this a lot, but I watched the talk of his recently, and he was talking about this whole thing around smartphones and the dopamine addiction to smartphones and technology, and how actually we have our children, that we have a limit on, an age restriction on alcohol, and an age restriction on gambling, and an age restriction on cigarettes, for example, but we don't have an age restriction on technology and smartphones. And actually the technology and smartphones are giving the exact same chemical release as the gambling, tobacco, and alcohol. So what we're ultimately saying, it's like opening up this was his terminology, is opening up the alcohol cabinet to our teenagers and our youth, and saying, hey, if you're struggling with life right now, just rock on, take what you need. And of course, they're just binging on that, because like you rightfully said, you can just access pornography and a whole array of other whatever substance or whatever addiction you need is right at the fingertips, right? Whether it be a movie, computer game, distraction, violence, YouTube videos, dopamine, Facebook, social media, false interaction, facade, this is who I am, my avatar, I'm having a great day, but really I'm cracking up and depressed and falling apart. So you've got this like massive sort of, let's say, transition where, we don't know, there is no balance. There is no balance. There is no education around the balance, and there is no balance. So when you say sovereignty, it's a lovely word. There's a friend of mine, Greg Paul, talks a lot about this. He has a website called The Sovereign's Way, and he talks about a lot about this sovereignty, what it really means, because these are sort of buzzwords in our society, right, at the moment. Consciousness, conscious awareness, new paradigm, sovereignty, all these words sound great, or transparency, it's been a big word of mine for the last 10 years. And companies and organizations start to use these words as a way to also manipulate and coerce into the same environments and the same structures and systems that were already controlling us. Does that make sense? So the key is the dialogue for me, or the conversation is the freedom is in the conversation to begin with, first and foremost, because we need to have these conversations. But I'd love to hear you just talk a little bit more, maybe even share an experience that you had from the Mankind Project, where what sovereignty really means for the men and the women listening. Like, what does it mean? First, you said it means, hey, healthy boundaries, and no, I do not accept this. That's the first one, right? But anything else you want to contribute to that topic?
Boundaries,
or just the essence of what sovereignty really means. What we have to bring into our own behaviors to be sovereign.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I knew this was we were going to be covering some deep stuff on this talk.
For me, just so you know, this is not a deep talk or a heavy talk. It's just it's totally boom. I like diving into these topics to see what's there, and then moving through them, coming out on top, laughing and watching them fall away.
Yeah, man. I just said that because I'm finding these days it's so easy to sort of like fall into these wells of anxiety and depression, frankly, about the way things are. We're dealing with a lot in this time, you know. We really are. So I just said that because it's really important to just come back into the now and be like, hey, actually, in the now is all great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good.
and it's
But
very,
we got to do.
and it's very simple.
Like,
Yeah, in the now is very simple. Like
it is
like
simple.
when you really drop. This is a nice thing that you bring up, right? Because
I'm gonna hold up my candle. Here's the now. It probably looks like a drink, but then you can see the cat. There we go. The now. Here's to the now.
Yeah, tilt it the other way so we see the flame. This is what I meant earlier by the funky paradox, yeah? So to get to that point where you can be in the now, and get to that point where you can truly laugh, and to get to that point where you're truly in the space, and to get to that point where you truly realize that you are not this body, you are not this form, you are not actually what you think you are, and your limitations, your stories, and all this other noise that's going on. That is, of course, a beautiful space to realize, or to even realize and to feel. But you don't just, let's just say, it's not that you don't just drop there. Some people may just drop there, but the point is that you have to sift away all the shit that you're not before you can even really truly sit there. Otherwise, you're in the space that you said where you might think, yeah, it's all fine, it's all cool, it's in the now, but deep down, you're depressed, anxious, and in a load of survival emotions which are eating you away, right?
We have to face ourselves in order to find the now. We have to heal. We have to go there. We have to do the work to be the warrior. And you don't get to be the warrior unless you do the work. And if you're going to sit on your smartphone all day, avoiding yourself, then you don't get to be the warrior and you will get eaten up. That sounds kind of heavy and harsh, but I really think this is the fierce truth. And I think we're stepping in. We have now stepped into a time of fierce truth. I got that word very strongly in my dreams for a while back. Fierce truth. We're stepping into a time of fierce truth, and that means we've got to face ourselves, all of us. I mean, I've done a lot of facing of myself in my life. I'm, for whatever reason, and rewards are starting to come from that. When I see people addicted to technology, smartphones, devices, ultimately what I see is the same thing, is avoidance of self. En masse, avoidance of self. And that's dangerous, you know. If it's time that we have to start, all of us, going there, getting help, seeking out the right healer, the right course that will help us heal our traumas, the right course that will help us to reclaim our boundaries. Like Mankind Project for me helped me to find my boundaries again, to help me find my boundaries to my woman. And she fucking loves me for it now, man. Like, yeah, yesterday I was about to have a rehearsal and she came in. I was with some mates, my band. She's like, oh, Bob, can you ring the heating company? I was like, no, I'm about to have a rehearsal. And the band all looked at me and they're like, nice one, Bob, nice boundary. And I was like, that's just normal because I've done the work and I can say no. And we need to be able to say no. I'm rambling. No, I'm not. I'm preaching. I've really got to catch being a preacher, man. God, what's that? My ego.
I'm not a preacher. It's okay. You keep preaching until there's.
I'm watching you, ego. I'm watching you.
Yeah.
Preach. But yes, we do. I'm finding my power, and Mankind Project has helped me find my power, my authentic power, and that's not my ego. And there's a part of me that I can say, yes, I do stand up, and I say, guys, we've all got to do the work. Not just because I am, but because that's the time that we're living in. Like, Gaia, Mother Earth, is calling us all to wake up because the world is in a total mad place and not a good way. And if we don't start to heal and step up and phase out those that are leading our planet down the wrong track, then we're going to have a real nightmare of a future. And you could even say that we are already having that. But if we don't do the healing work individually, personally, every single one of us, then we're going to have a shitty time. And our kids are going to have an even more shitty time. So I really feel like this time that we're in is about doing the inner work. And I hope I'm not sounding preachy, but I really do feel that it's about it's time to face ourselves. It is.
I look at it from that same place. So to give you an idea, like in 2007, when I, let's say, had a shift in perspective, what some might call a peak experience, and I started to look at the world, and you start to look around, and I started to watch hundreds of documentaries and sort of like what's going on in the world with the oil, with the monetary system, with consumerism and materialism, with the food, with everything. I looked at I watched a wide array of different documentaries that gave me an insight into some of the let's say crazy things that are happening in the world. And that, of course, at the time, I went into a bit of a, let's say, dense, almost, no, I'm not going to just say depressed, but just dense, just frustrated, angry, hopeless, not really knowing what to do. And then out of that hopelessness came like, okay, well, how do I want to function? How do I want to live? How do I want to co-create? How do I want to, be in this world? And then from that moment on, I went on a bit of a quest to, one, create conversations like this, one, to continue falling in love with myself and the planet. And the more you fall in love with yourself and the planet, the more you just live in alignment to the, let's say, the magic, the wonder, the awe, the bliss, the exuberance, the joy, and all that's going on right now.
Joy.
Yeah, right?
Joy.
Yeah, the joy. So the point is like, for me, it's like where focus goes, energy flows. So at the moment, like, if I focus on technology and I look at technology as all the bad things that it can do and could do, and all the addiction that it can be, and so on. If I look at that aspect, then I put focus there and I create more of that and I see more of that. Now, for example, when you said something lovely, which is like, okay, you go around, you want to get the megaphone. There's a couple of guys that did do that a while ago. I can't remember what they called. They called the Love Police.
Oh, nice. About the phones.
No. But this was happening about maybe several years ago now. But they were doing a Love Police for a while, and two guys that had an awakening and went around and was on the megaphone. And I go around with a megaphone. I actually have a megaphone and go around, but I just go around telling people how beautiful they are outside of my car window.
That's probably a much better thing to be doing.
Yeah. It's like
wake up, everybody, wake up. That's preaching.
I think Dara, my partner, would just say to me, so, in fact, sometimes when I say something a little bit like stop smoking, she says, it might be much nicer if you just say they've got something beautiful about them. I'm like, don't smoke, it's bad for you. But
you're doing this.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong. I smoked for 15 years, but you shouldn't.
I'll just step it. My partner's. We've got this nice new phrase going at the moment. It's look for the gold in people.
Yeah.
Look for the gold. I've been really guilty of like finding the bad, Like,
yeah. Well, this is what I want to speak to that.
Where are you going?
See, I disappeared for a moment. I want to speak to that a little bit more, what I was just saying. I'll tell you why. Because, like, what happens is that we can get so caught up. 1 minute, I'm just... your live up to it. I thought it was live to it. I was saying it wrong. Live up to it. Your spoken word called Live Up to It on the album Love, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much nails it. I've listened to that I don't know how many times, and loads. I actually use it as part of my meditation sometimes. So I meditate regularly, and often I listen to a spoken word or a guided meditation or something else after. Sometimes I do silent meditation, or after a guided meditation I like to listen to that, or just throughout the day I like to listen to, heightened awareness content. And one of the things that I've put into my playlist, that's why I just went to get my phone. One of the things I put into my playlist, my smartphone, right, is Live Up to It, right? Your track Live Up to It, because in that you really cover a lot of where we are, and And the reason why I'm bringing up like this thing is like for a long time I was just like, you know, that's got to change, they've got to change, we're going to get the chips inside of us, it's all going downhill from here. And then I sort of like just had a real sort of shift in essence, and was just like, that's why I love the word you said about sovereignty. I just thought, well, no, what does it mean to be a sovereign being? What does it mean to be a fully embodied, you know, being that I already am? See, this is the key, right? This is where I think we get a little bit lost, and why maybe we fall into these traps, these unconscious traps, is that ultimately the main message for me is that nobody realizes that they are the space that everything's happening in, as opposed to the things that have to be done and doing, and I'm this like individual self who's separate from everybody else, and I'm alone, and I've got no money, and there's a fight going on, and everyone's out to get me, and I've got like all guns blazing, it's on, man, and shit's hitting the fan, and if I don't move out of the way, that shit's gonna hit me, and I ain't ready, you know. It's like, and that energy which is sort of, you know, I can feel that. I can see that around there, like you. I can feel that people are experiencing that. And I do one-to-ones. I do retreats with people. I do a workshop. So I can feel what people are feeling. But that all falls away when, like you said, we dive a bit deeper into like the questions of like, who are we really? And who, maybe the bigger question is, who are we not? You know, if people were asking that, who are we not? Because maybe the who are we is a little bit, can be a bit ambiguous and a little bit scary, because, you know, nobody really knows that. But if you start to ask the question of like, who am I not? Who am I not? Then you start to unravel and uncover, you know, all of the noise, all of the shit, all of the stories and the lies and you know, the deep conditioned programs of behaviors and thought forms that we've attached to, yeah, that we've like linked onto. So I don't know if how that sits with you, but it's like, so it's not that like what you're seeing and feeling and doing. I'm totally with you, and not that I have to be, but I'm saying I totally see that. But that for me, I'm sort of like just dropping away from that more and more. I'm just like just dropping away from it, and potentially that's going to continue. Potentially that frequency is going to continue, and that's fine. But it's like, am I part of that? Do I have to plug into that? You know, do I really have to plug into that? That's my question.
That's nice. I'm really feeling that energy from you right now. It's nice. I think I've been feeling your energy all day, actually. Partly why I've had a difficult day. We've probably been working on each other's energy. This is what I often experience with sometimes with people. Anyway, it's very zen. I started feeling very zen. Very nice.
Oh darling, darling, when you tell me you're zen, makes me very happy, you know, very happy.
Oh, it's good. More zen, please. More zen.
More zen. That could be one of the names of your song, your next songs. More zen, please. More zen.
Zen, please. That's quite a good name for an album, actually. More zen, please.
Yes, I like that.
I don't know, man. You got me. I feel a really funny mix. Like, you know, I feel like on one hand, this sort of like huge responsibility as a sort of man in his prime, and on the other hand, where does the ego come into that? You know, quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the you know, I've got to fix the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I can't ignore things that I've always felt. You know, there's this. I mean, I'm 40. I know who I am now. You know, and I know in my life I've had certain continual experiences and feelings of empathy, and I also know my intuition. I'm discovering how to listen to my intuition, and sometimes intuition says things that is to me that are like, it's important that you do this, you know.
Yeah.
But that my ego can creep in there, you know. It can creep in and it can distort it.
Yeah.
And I definitely experience that distortion often.
Yeah.
The part that makes me want to be like Mr. Bob Hillary, the sort of amazing heal the world musician.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah. But
And
it's dangerous. Yeah, yeah,
but at the same time, for that and the ego and seeing that, and I do watch it daily, there is the other part that is like, no, as a man who's finding his sovereignty and his power, I do have a responsibility to do certain things and to act big. Actually, that's what I'm getting at the moment. I'm doing some healing work in Glastonbury with an amazing woman called Katinka, who works with the energy of dragon, and I'm meeting the dragon energy, and it's very powerful, very strong, and it's all about stepping up, and it's all about like, stop staying small, Bob, or anyone.
yeah,
Stop playing small, man. Like, you're here for all that the ego can be like, oh, I'm here to be big and to do great things. My intuition tells me more and more, don't play small, play big, be a big light. Make your sphere of influence of light big, enormous. Like, I know this is great Michael Franti line. I really, really respect Michael Franti. He has a line in one of his early songs. What is it? It's just like my love is enormous. My love is enormous. And the way he says it, I'm like, man, I fucking believe you. And then, and he says it. It's like he feels his love. His love is enormous.
yeah.
And he acts like a man whose love is enormous. And look at the influence these guys have. Xavier Rudd, massive influence. These guys, they're not playing small. And I don't know, I'm finding the balance between, watching the ego and that wants to be big and the life changer, world changer, like world saver. And then also the part of me that is being called to step up. I feel that.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that myself. I feel that.
It's a funny mix, isn't it? It's a really funny mix. I'm still really working through it.
No, but it's so lovely that you're going through it so let's say so vulnerably, so rawly, so transparently. See, for me, transparency is liberation. So for me, transparency rules for me in our world. So, for example, everything you just said, 100% feeling exactly the same. We do a retreat called Naked the Retreat. It's an invitation to strip away all the crap that you are, strip away your clothes, strip away your skin suit, and uncover who you are underneath all of these stories. But the point I'm making is that what you're experiencing, we're feeling too. I have a conversation with Dara just the other day. We're in the car and we were just talking about, the essence of what we're doing, what we're creating, what do we want to put in the world, what do we want to contribute. I feel what I hear from you is that this sense of like, what comes up for me is like, can we even be small? Like just feel that for a moment. Like, we're a miraculous, magnificent, interstellar, multi-dimensional being that travels every night out of our body and goes off into other planes. We are basically, the intelligence going on inside of us is beyond belief. We don't even sit here having any awareness, or very few of us do have any awareness of what is actually happening just on a bodily level, even though regardless if it might be a hologram or we might be completely nothing and it's all a facade and illusion, that's fine. But at the same time, this stuff is happening. I'm talking to you right now. We are miracles in flesh. We are in this vast mystery where we are so insignificant yet so vast, right? You know this, you sing about this, right? And it's like, we are here witnessing all of this.
Sorry, man, I'm running out of battery. Keep going. You're in a flow, and I really dig in your flow. It's beautiful.
Don't worry.
I'm going to disappear to plug my computer in.
Don't worry. Go get it.
It's my off-grid battery in my off-grid camper van.
Go get it.
Keep going, because you're speaking beautifully. I just shit all over your flow. I'm sorry.
No, you never. There's no flow. There was no flow to shit on.
Well, you sound good. I don't know how much charge I'm going to have.
Don't worry. We can finish the conversation. There's many conversations can happen.
Oh, shit.
get
I've
to.
got no power. Go on.
Don't worry, don't worry. How long we got? 3 minutes? 2 minutes?
We've got 5% left of my battery, so
Yeah,
it'll
fine.
be a matter of a minute or so.
Don't worry. Okay, so let's wrap it up. So
Shit.
So don't be shit. Don't be shit. It's perfect. Everything is divinely unfolding. That's my point. It's like when we get out of the way of thinking that we're the ones controlling it and actually just observe that it is all happening, right? It's happening. And if we can drop that resistance to what is happening, yes, you're going to still come through with the expression of you. Like to, in listening to your album, and this isn't just to try to boost you, but because I don't think you need it, you're going on this beautiful inquiry like me. But to listen to your album and to listen to your message already just on that one album, like I don't feel, having spoken to you tonight, that you can be anything but that vastness, but that greatness, if you continue just tapping into what you truly feel and express from that place. But for me, what I'm realizing is the more I express from the spaciousness, the softness, the gentleness, the more I connect to my beautiful partner in shine, Dara, and we spend more time in the bedroom, and we spend more time looking into each other's eyes, and I spend more time looking into the eyes of the people around me, and I spend more time breathing, then all of a sudden, all of that opens up, and there's this ability to just move with what is and be in full acceptance to what is, rather than being like this rigid, I can't find a way, it's too much. That's what I'm realizing.
Yes, but that involves doing the healing work. But I guess I'm just wrapping up. I've got 2% left.
2%.
Yeah.
Here we go with the flow. We got 2%. Some with Bob Hillary, Here we go. He's the man of the moment, rocking the beats because he's not stopping. Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I've enjoyed speaking to you.
I've enjoyed speaking to you. I'm going to go away and absorb this.
And
yes.
And you know what I really love? I want to say this, and for people viewing, I really have appreciated your transparency, your sensitivity, your vulnerability, and your willingness to show up as you have today. And for me, I'm seeing just the greatness of the mirror that you've given me and for people listening.
I'm going to try and meet your eyes to end this.
It's gone. 2%. He's gone. He's gone. We met his eyes. There he is. Check him out. Bob Hillary. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. The battery. Bob actually wanted to tell us about why he's living in a van, living off grid. But I want to say to you all, I'm going to put the link underneath this video. Listen to Bob Hillary's album called Love.